for coming to this magnificent event. We are happy to welcome you at the Consulate General of Mexico in Sacramento. Muy buenos días a todos, bienvenidos, gracias por su compañía en esta mañana. Antes de empezar, nada más quisiera yo decirles que tenemos una gran colaboración con los medios y por eso esta mañana tenemos el placer de contar con Carolina Prato como nuestra maestra de ceremonias. Carolina es la presentadora de noticias para Noticiero Telemundo California, cubriendo el norte del estado y el Valle Central. Carolina también es la cabeza de Telemundo Responde en la región y esa es una sección muy importante, ya que es una iniciativa creada para lidiar con denuncias e injusticias que tiene la comunidad. Démosle una bienvenida a Carolina.
¿Qué tal? Muy buenos días y gracias a todas, todos y todes. Es un honor para mí darles la bienvenida en nombre del Consulado General de México en Sacramento a este importante foro que conmemora el Mes del Orgullo y que forma parte de nuestro compromiso en los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible en la Agenda 2030 de las Naciones Unidas. Hoy nos reunimos para reflexionar, para dialogar y visibilizar los retos que aún enfrenta la comunidad LGBTQ+, tanto en México como aquí en nuestra región. Sabemos que hablar de inclusión, salud, educación y trabajo digno para todas las personas es hablar de derechos humanos. Y los derechos humanos definitivamente no tienen fronteras. Agradecemos profundamente la participación de representantes del gobierno, instituciones educativas y organizaciones de la sociedad civil por compartir su trabajo, experiencia y acciones para construir comunidades más igualitarias, más seguras y más diversas. Este foro es, ante todo, un espacio seguro, un lugar para escucharnos, reconocernos y avanzar hacia un futuro más justo. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Bueno, ahora sí vamos a empezar. So let's begin, and I welcome to the Mexican Council in Sacramento, Cristian Toledo González.
Buenos días, good morning. Good morning. ¿Estamos despiertos? Es lunes. Good. Antes que nada, como cónsul general de México en Sacramento, para mí es un honor darles la bienvenida a esta que es la casa, no solamente de los mexicanos, sino de todas, todos, todes, en donde esto es un espacio y una zona segura para toda nuestra comunidad. Es de verdad para mí un privilegio y un honor darles la bienvenida al 5º Encuentro de Comunidades al Exterior, particularmente en un tema tan importante como es la visibilidad de las comunidades LGBTQ+. Esta es la 5ª ocasión en que nuestro gobierno, junto a la Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores y por supuesto en acompañamiento al Instituto de Mexicanas y Mexicanos en el Exterior, realizan este ejercicio para dialogar, platicar, entender y reconocer las necesidades de nuestra comunidad en el exterior y particularmente en ese sentido a la comunidad LGBTQ+. Sin duda, también como un tema personal, representa un verdadero privilegio ser la sede para este encuentro, tomando en consideración que soy de los pocos miembros del servicio como de exterior diplomático, como embajadores y cónsules abiertamente LGBT. Asimismo, la primera persona no binaria de este grupo, al cual me honra poderlos representar no solamente como miembro en el exterior, sino también como miembro de este colectivo. I will try to do a little bit of Spanish because I know that also there's some English speakers here with us, so I will now turn my speech into English and then I will finish in Spanish again. Again, good morning, and it's truly a privilege to warmly welcome to all of you to the 5th Encuentro de Comunidades Mexicanas de Diversidad Sexual en el Exterior, Voces con Orgullo. This forum not only highlights sexual diversity and promotes gender equality and inclusion, but also aims to be safe space for open dialogue and reflection on the challenges our community faces in challenging exercising the rights and our fundamental role in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations, the SDGs. Today, we will be exploring 6 key areas that are essential for the well-being of the LGBTQI+ community: health, education, poverty, security, family, and legal recognition of gender identity. These issues matter not to us, but to the guarantee of all human rights for all. We know these challenges affect everyone, but the impact is even greater when they interact with other forms of exclusion. Being a migrant, being an indigenous person, being a woman, living with disability, speaking another language, and of course, having a diverse sexual orientation or gender identity. Recognizing these intersectionalities is key to building real, inclusive, and effective solutions for everyone. This year, we decided as Ministry of Foreign Affairs to choose as our central theme of the diversity and inclusion of the LGBTQI+ community within the framework of the 2030 Agenda SDGs adopted by the United Nations. This is a global commitment that holds special importance today, not only because we are just 5 years away from the target year, but because it reflects the core principles of Mexico's foreign policy, which is a foreign policy which resembles as humanist, equal, and inclusive for everyone. The 2030 Agenda, adopted in 2015 by all UN member states, outlines 17 goals, calling for urgent action to inequality, achieve social inclusion, and protect the planet under the strong promise to leave no one behind. The well-being of the LGBTQI+ community is deeply connected to these goals, especially when it comes to health, education, free of prejudice, dignified and inclusive work, and the guiding values of equality, non-discrimination, and inclusion. The idea of leaving no one behind is especially critical, not for people of sexual and gender diversity, who, like many minorities, have been repeatedly sidelined and erased and excluded from policies and programs that ignore our realities and our needs. We firmly believe that the SDGs simply cannot be achieved without the real and active inclusion of the LGBTQI+ community. And to make that happen, we need shared responsibility from governments, private sector, civil society, and everyone that really believes on the importance and empowerment of human rights. Being an ally today doesn't mean staying silent and respectful. It means taking action, building support networks, educating others, showing up, because behind each letter in LGBTQI+ community, there are real people, family, friends, co-workers. It means raising your voice, standing up for justice, and being an active part of this movement towards a society that is freer, more than just a truly equal, one that maybe embraces everyone just as they are, sin prejuicios, no fear, sin condiciones, no conditions. Yes, we have seen major legislative progress in many countries, but discrimination, violence, and exclusion are still everyday realities for many in our community. We are living through tough times, and as has always been the case, minorities feel the crisis' hardest impact on this. That's why we need to stay united, working together to eliminate the inequalities that limit our rights, block our opportunities, and hold back to the full development of our societies. Our differences shouldn't divide us. They should make us stronger and more compassionate to each other. I'm deeply thankful to all amazing ally organizations here today for your tireless work. And of course, I would like to take this opportunity, special thanks the LGBTQ+ Community Center, the LGBTQ+ Caucus of California, and thank you to all our sponsors and everyone who made possible this important event. And of course, a heartfelt thank you to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Instituto of Mexicanas y Mexicanos en el Exterior for your strong commitment to humanism, equality, and inclusion. and for supporting safe spaces like this one, where we can listen to our community, reflect on our shared reality, and propose changes that move us toward a world where all people can live with dignity, respect, and fairness. Hoy más que nunca tenemos que alzar nuestra voz, mostrar la visibilidad de quienes somos como migrantes, como mujeres, como personas con discapacidad, como personas de esta comunidad LGBTQ+. Hay individuos, hay programas, hay gobiernos que intentan borrarnos y eliminarnos. Sin embargo, como dice la presidenta Claudia Sheinbaum, la primera presidenta mujer de la región de Norteamérica, lo que no se dice no existe. Y hoy decimos que sí existimos y aquí estamos y somos presentes. Somos una comunidad fuerte, somos una comunidad empoderada. La visibilidad empodera, la visibilidad contribuye y la visibilidad representa que somos y estamos. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos, bienvenides al Consulado General de Sacramento, una zona segura para todos ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, cónsul. Ahora vamos con un mensaje que nos envía el subsecretario Enrique Ochoa. Él es, por aquí lo tenemos, es el subsecretario para Asuntos Multilaterales y Derechos Humanos.
Desde la Subsecretaría para Asuntos Multilaterales. Muy buenos días. Desde la Subsecretaría para Asuntos Multilaterales y Derechos Humanos de la Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores de México, me complace dirigirme a ustedes en ocasión de la apertura del 5º Foro de Comunidades Mexicanas LGBTQ+, Voces con Orgullo, un espacio que celebra la diversidad, promueve la inclusión y pone en el centro las voces y experiencias de la comunidad de origen mexicano. Quiero agradecer al Instituto de Mexicanas y Mexicanos en el Exterior y al Consulado General de México en Sacramento, así como a las organizaciones y personas participantes y aliadas que hacen posible este encuentro. Este foro refleja un compromiso compartido, construir una sociedad más justa, donde todas las personas, sin importar su orientación sexual, identidad o expresión de género, puedan vivir con dignidad, libres de violencia y discriminación. Es propicio que este foro sea articulado en torno a los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible de la Agenda 2030 de las Naciones Unidas. No dejar a nadie atrás implica un compromiso directo con la protección y el bienestar de los grupos históricamente vulnerados como las personas LGBTQ+. México se considera hoy un país progresista que celebra con orgullo la inclusión y la diversidad. Asimismo, se abordará el acceso a servicios de la salud, educativa, inclusiva, eliminación de la discriminación laboral, prevención de la violencia de género, reconocimiento legal de la identidad de género y el papel de la familia en la inclusión, que también se alinean con esta agenda. Este foro se convierte no solo en un espacio de diálogo, sino también en una contribución a la construcción de sociedades más equitativas, tanto en México como en nuestras comunidades en el exterior. Desde el Gobierno de México reafirmamos nuestro compromiso con la protección y promoción de los derechos humanos de las personas LGBTQ+. Trabajamos activamente para garantizar servicios consulares sensibles, seguros y respetuosos con la diversidad. Asimismo, buscamos fortalecer la cooperación internacional en la defensa de la igualdad y no discriminación. Por ello agradecemos a todas, todos y todes aquí presentes su participación en este foro, que es el primero que se lleva a cabo en Sacramento. Felicidades, abriendo un camino para el futuro. Foros como este son indispensables, son espacios para escucharnos, para aprender, para avanzar. Son también una oportunidad para reconocernos como parte de una comunidad plural y resiliente, la cual hoy alza su voz con orgullo. Les deseo una exitosa jornada productiva, solidaria y transformadora. Muchas gracias.
Antes de continuar, quisiera invitarlos que si alguna persona necesita ayuda con el tema de la traducción, al final del salón tenemos audífonos donde van a poder escuchar la traducción momentánea. For people who need help with the translation, we have a headphones available at the back of the room. If you need some help, they are available. Okay. Ahora me complace presentar al señor Octaviano Longoria, es director de Género e Inclusión de IME. Mr. Octaviano Longoria, Director of Gender and Inclusion Institute for Mexican Abroad. Welcome.
Muy buenos días, señor Cónsul, muchas gracias por recibirnos. Bienvenidos a todos. Estoy en representación de la maestra Tatiana Cloutier Carrillo, que es la titular del IME. El IME en su compromiso por los derechos humanos. El Instituto de Mexicanas y Mexicanos en el Exterior, IME, ha fortalecido su compromiso con la promoción, protección y garantía de los derechos humanos de las comunidades mexicanas en el extranjero. Lo anterior mediante la implementación de acciones inclusivas y con enfoques interseccionales y los compromisos internacionales asumidos por México en materia de derechos humanos, igualdad sustantiva y no discriminación. En el contexto antimigratorio que actualmente prevalece en Estados Unidos, es indispensable reforzar las acciones para garantizar la dignidad, integridad y derechos humanos de los mexicanos y mexicanas en el exterior. Como respuesta, el IME promueve una política comunitaria basada en la cercanía, sensible y comprometida con nuestra población. En la perspectiva de género e inclusión de grupos en situación de vulnerabilidad, todas las actividades y programas y encuentros impulsados por el IME tienen como eje transversal la perspectiva de derechos humanos y buscan fortalecer las redes comunitarias, garantizar la participación efectiva y el acceso a los derechos de las personas mexicanas en el exterior, en particular de aquellos grupos que históricamente han enfrentado barreras estructurales. Para atender las necesidades de atención, protección y empoderamiento de las personas migrantes, se desarrollan acciones específicas dirigidas a mujeres, comunidad LGBTQ+, pueblos indígenas, personas adultas, infancias y adolescencias. De igual manera, en el 2024 se modificó el nombre del Instituto de Mexicanos en el Exterior a Instituto de Mexicanas y Mexicanos en el Exterior, lo cual responde a una perspectiva de derechos humanos centrada en la inclusión, la igualdad de género y el lenguaje no sexista. Al incluir a mexicanas y mexicanos, se reconoce explícitamente la presencia, participación y contribución de las mujeres en la comunidad del exterior, promoviendo una representación equitativa de los discursos públicos e institucionales. En el apoyo a la mujer migrante, el programa consular de emprendimiento para mexicanas en el exterior busca promover la autonomía económica, empoderamiento y la visibilidad de las mujeres migrantes mexicanas. Otras iniciativas relevantes incluyen el conversatorio para mujeres migrantes mexicanas en Europa, así como la Semana de Atención y Formación para Mujeres SAIME, espacios que fomentan el diálogo, la solidaridad y el acceso a servicios consulares con el enfoque de género. En la visibilización de la diversidad sexual e identidad de género, el IME ha fomentado espacios de diálogo, representación y visibilización de la diversidad sexual y de género, y fortalece la participación política, el reconocimiento de identidad y diversidades y el respeto pleno a los derechos humanos de las personas LGBTQ+ mexicanas en el extranjero. Este quinto encuentro en Sacramento consolida este espacio como un referente de participación activa y de construcción de política pública con enfoque de inclusión y no discriminación. Muchísimas gracias por recibirnos y esperamos que este evento sea de gran beneficio para todas las comunidades. Muchísimas gracias.
Ahora me complace dar la bienvenida a Luis Cortés, jefe de Asuntos Externos del Centro LGBT de Sacramento. I'm glad to present Mr. Luis Cortés, Chief Development and External Affairs Officer, LGBTQ Center of Sacramento. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. I'm here on behalf of the LGBT Center here in Sacramento. We are extremely blessed to live in a place that has all these resources and all support available for LGBTQ people throughout the region, but also across the nation. One of the things we've been noticing here in Sacramento particularly is large influx of people coming into California, just looking for community, resources, and a place to belong. I really want to commend everyone for being here. I want to commend the Consul General for putting this incredible event. And anyone watching, I want to encourage you to please look at your local resources. And if you're looking for anything specific, look around. There's a lot of things to be really proud of. We have advanced so much in the last couple of years, and even though some things may be a little bit less hopeful than in previous years, there's still so many people fighting for your rights, not only here but abroad. So please come and take a look at Sacramento LGBT Center. I promise you'll find a place to belong. Please go to the Gender Health Center and just look around and see what's around you. There's a lot of things that still can produce a lot of hope and a lot of community. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to thank you again, the council, for having us, and I'm looking forward to a wonderful forum. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for your word. Gracias por sus palabras. Y ahora le doy la bienvenida a Alina Hernández del Caucus Legislativo LGBTQ. Welcome to Alina Hernández, LGBTQ Legislative Caucus member. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today and the opportunity to hold space with you all this morning. I'm here today and really not representing a government entity or a government title. I'm here today representing myself, a queer Latina, former principal consultant to the California Legislative LGBTQ Caucus, principal and founder of Giver, a fundraising and event managing firm helping diverse organizations raise funds and elevate their mission. I'm also the acting vice president of development for the LGBTQ Victory Fund and the LGBTQ Victory Institute, where we work daily to recruit and train and elect LGBTQ leaders globally, including Mexico. I didn't come into this work via policy. I came here via the people. Before 2016, I wasn't politically engaged. I voted, but that's about where it stopped. But where my engagement, I didn't see politics as somewhere where there was a space for someone like me, including the Capitol. I started working for the California Legislative LGBTQ Caucus in 2017, and that's when everything changed. I witnessed history. I witnessed the first Pride flag officially raised above the California State Capitol during Pride Month, which is also historic. I saw the introduction of the X gender marker on California identification cards, where non-binary people could now see themselves every day in their wallets. I witnessed the caucus grow from 8 to 14 members, making them the largest LGBTQ caucus in the nation by percentage. So achieving 10% representation in the legislature. That was huge. It was historic. For 6 years, I supported the caucus as their lead consultant. I used to say if they were a band, I was their manager. I saw everything LGBTQ related that happened in California come across my desk. It was an honor. And in supporting them, I found my own power. And it made my purpose to create safe and joyful and affirming spaces for others. Over the next 2 days, you'll hear from voices across sectors and identities, leaders, advocates, and everyday people, all working to create more inclusive spaces and an inclusive society. These conversations will touch on health, safety, education, justice, economic access, but at the core, they're not just LGBTQ issues. These are human issues. Issues of dignity and safety and representation and belonging. Not just LGBTQ issues, all of our issues. And to our allies, you're part of this story too. Inclusion doesn't happen in isolation. It requires brave voices, willing to stand alongside us, amplify our voices, and challenge systems that weren't built for all of us. Your role is not just supportive, it's essential. When we center LGBTQ people in policy and public life, we all benefit because it pushes institutions to become more compassionate, more responsive, and more human. LGBTQ people face challenges on a daily basis that not everybody can hold or see. LGBTQ people are faced with change constantly. We've never had the luxury to be in comfort in the status quo. However, we were born into every race, every religion, every culture, and class. And because of that, we carry the perspective and power to reimagine systems from the inside out. We don't just represent one issue or one community. We exist in all communities. We're artists, we're lawmakers, we're parents, we're scientists and spiritual leaders and organizers. We're in the boardrooms, we're in the classrooms, we're caretakers, we're culture shifters, and a coalition of builders. LGBTQ people are used to navigate, or we're used to navigating the margins. And it gives us a unique ability to lean in with empathy and creativity and resilience. We know how to build bridges because we've had to cross so many. We know how to advocate because we've had to fight to be seen. That's why I believe the LGBTQ community and our people are not just part of the future. We are the future. We're the heart of change, the soul of movement, and the threads that weave diversity into unity. So if you're here today and you have the power to be open and engaged on all sides, LGBTQ people and allies, I encourage you to lean in the next 2 days. And if you're still finding your way, know that people like me are out there building pathways so you can walk into your future with pride and power. Because politics and policy are not just politics and policy, it's personal. So I want to thank the consulate for holding the space. Thank you so much. And for allowing me to be here, to be able to address all of you. And just thank you for showing up. That's half the battle. So let's make the next 2 days not just informative, but transformative. Thank you.
Gracias, Alina, por tus palabras y gracias por ese trabajo. Thank you for your words and your hard work every day. Ahora vamos a dar la bienvenida al primer panel de discusión, que va a ser nuestro moderador. En este panel 1, que estaría como moderador el licenciado Octaviano Longore, director de Género e Inclusión del Instituto de Mexicanos y Mexicanas en el Exterior. También estaría como parte de este panel Aaron Arms. Denme un segundito. Tengo aquí está. Como ponente, Aaron Arms, jefa del Departamento de Salud LGBT del Community Center de Sacramento, y también Malakai Cott, director del Gender Health Center Let's begin with panel 1 as a moderator, Octaviano Longoria, Director of for Inclusion and Gender of EMED. And we have 2 speakers here, Aaron Arms, Head of the Health Department of LGBT Community Center, and Malachi Cole, the Director of Gender Health Center. Please welcome to the front and let's begin.
Sí, buenos días otra vez. Tengo unas palabras que compartir antes de comenzar. Se reconoce que frente a los desafíos geopolíticos de las migraciones, la fortaleza mental de las personas en movilidad es una herramienta esencial de la adaptación. Por ello es fundamental aumentar la disponibilidad de servicios de salud mental y apoyo psicosocial para quienes se enfrentan a estas circunstancias y redoblar esfuerzos para atender de manera prioritaria a los grupos vulnerables que requieren mayor protección, como es la comunidad LGBTQ+. Porque la diversidad debe impulsarnos a fortalecer nuestra respuesta y compromiso solidario. Conscientes de ello, el Instituto de Mexicanas Mexicanas en el Exterior ha instrumentado la Estrategia Global de Salud Mental. Esta estrategia articula a nivel regional la disponibilidad de servicios preventivos y de atención a través de mecanismos como las ventanillas de salud en Estados Unidos, las ventanillas de salud mental y virtuales en Europa, y los módulos de salud mental en América Latina. El papel del IME es fundamental por su trabajo de coordinación con las representaciones de México y con aliados como la Facultad de Psicología de la UNAM, la Secretaría de Salud, la Universidad Iberoamericana y en conjunto de especialistas que integran la red de atención que apoya a nuestros connacionales. En América del Norte, donde se concentra la mayor población mexicana en el exterior, actualmente operan 53 ventanillas de salud en la red consular en Estados Unidos y 2 en Canadá. Desde la puesta en marcha de la estrategia, se integraron 37 ventanillas de salud al programa de salud mental y se capacitaron 49 promotoras de salud para atender de forma personal a los mexicanos y mexicanas que acuden en consulados. De 2022 a 2024 se han realizado 5.292 intervenciones de salud mental, beneficiando directamente a igual número de personas, multiplicando el impacto a sus familias y las redes sociales. En el resto del mundo, la atención global sigue fortaleciéndose. Actualmente se coordinan trabajos para implementar módulos de salud mental en Corea, Mumbai, Qatar, con el apoyo de la Universidad Iberoamericana. Desde el 2022, la Estrategia Global de Salud Mental ha beneficiado directamente a 348 personas en el ámbito internacional. En 2025 se logró triplicar el número de atenciones respecto al 2022, gracias al nuevo modelo de atención y a una campaña de estrategia de comunicación. Tan solo a partir de la alianza con la Universidad Iberoamericana se han beneficiado 227 personas, 11 en 2023, 64 en 2024 y 152 tan solo en lo que va de 2025. Además, 121 personas han sido atendidas por la red consular en Europa. Estos resultados nos muestran que juntos podemos seguir construyendo una red de apoyos, esperanza y acompañamiento para las y los mexicanos en el exterior, reconociendo que la salud mental no es un lujo, sino un derecho humano que debemos garantizar. En el Instituto de Mexicanas y Mexicanos en el Exterior se realizan iniciativas que buscan atender a este sector de la población que se encuentra en el exterior en la vinculación con organizaciones, alianzas estratégicas y servicios que atienden las necesidades de las comunidades en el exterior. Algunas de estas acciones puntuales son del Encuentro de Comunidades Mexicanas LGBT en el Exterior y la Semana Informativa para la Comunidad LGBT en el Exterior, con el objeto de fortalecer, vincular y dar seguimiento a las redes de apoyo entre las comunidades, así como promover los servicios comunitarios y consulares que desde el Gobierno de México se proporcionan para las personas migrantes LGBTQ+, a fin de erradicar la violencia y discriminación hacia este sector de la población, buscando impulsar la plena inclusión, igualdad de trato y condiciones en todos los ámbitos de cualquier parte del mundo. A través de esta estrategia se busca acercar los servicios de atención y orientación que brinda el Gobierno de México a las personas mexicanas en el exterior, así como las acciones que implementa la Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores para brindar atención incluyente y libre de discriminación, como son la estrategia de zona segura y los trámites a los que tienen acceso para el desarrollo de su identidad sexual. Nuestro objetivo es visibilizar el impacto nacional e internacional y la ejecución de las políticas públicas del Estado mexicano en beneficio de la comunidad mexicana LGBTQ+, mediante la conmemoración de este día, reconociendo que los espacios de gobierno se identifican como incluyentes y seguros para todas las personas, rechazando toda forma de discriminación por características físicas, posición social, religión, idioma, cultura, lugar de origen, preferencia política, ideológica, identidad de género, orientación y preferencia sexual. Con esto doy inicio a este panel. Quisiera pasar la palabra a Aaron. If you'd like to start with your comments on health in Sacramento, please.
Yeah. Hello. Okay, cool. Everybody can hear me. So my name is Erin again. I'm the Health Services Outreach Manager with the Sacramento LGBT Center. And to just speak about the services that we have, our intentions of being able to reach the broader community. Whenever I think of myself, I started off as somebody who was using the services of the LGBT Center. I was unhoused and I was able to go there, and they were able to help support me and get me linked to my chosen family. And all this time later, I now actually work here and I'm able to oversee the sexual health services. And when I first went to the LGBT Center, there was somebody with the name of Christina Arias. She's done a lot of work here, and she's a Latina trans woman. And just being able to see her in the position of somebody who was kind of defying what it means to be a trans person, but actually seeing her as a professional was really inspiring to me. And so I would say that that's really been my motivation to be able to continue in the work that we do. And so in my role as the Health Services Outreach Manager, we do a lot of outreach with different organizations that already have specific ties to demographics that we can't reach, that aren't always just coming to our door. But we really want to have more Spanish-speaking populations that do come to us to seek services, because we have so many that are available and free to them. Available free, but also we don't ask for any documentation. You don't need an ID, you don't need anything. All that you need to do is to be able to show up to yourself. And I think in the current climate, just the fear around accessing health services is what's deterring a lot of people from being able to get to them in the first place. And so I think more organizations like us, we do need to be more vocal about Spanish-speaking populations, because just again, speaking to my work in HIV, although nationally it's Black men who have sex with men, they're the highest disproportionate community when it comes to new HIV infections. In Sacramento, it is Mexican men who have sex with men. And so because of that, we really do need to continue to advocate for our services. We need to have more partnerships with the Mexican consulate, just so that we can have more people that are coming to our doors, because we have a safe and comfortable space for people to be able to come in and get access to services without the fear of judgment. And so I think just the more that we're able to speak and have different conversations like this, but not even just in this moment, Pride Month is over on Tuesday. That's the last day of Pride Month. But for us, for people who work in this work, and for me, somebody who's a visibly transgender person, I'm it's Pride Month every day. It's Pride Month every month. And so not only should we be speaking here, but I think it's really important that we do it with our families as well. If we can go back home, and if we can speak up for other trans people, your trans cousin or your LGBTQ plus uncle, I think that's where a lot of the real work does happen. But it's kind of my 2 cents there. And I'll pass it over to you, Malachi.
Hey, hello everybody. I love this. It's Pride Month every day, because that's true. That's the lived experience when you're walking the life as a full, expansive person who centers love and care with the people that we're in community with. My name is Dr. Malachi Cote, and I use he, they, and fam pronouns, and I'm the executive director at the Gender Health Center here in Sacramento. That's just the title, though, because we're talking about what does it mean to be a person I know that this is a piece like rest and dignity, respecting relationships. What does it mean to, like for me, being a partner, being a funkle, meaning I'm a fun uncle up in here, right? Being a caretaker of children, being a caretaker of community, trying to foster spaces of community care. And I think at the Gender Health Center, those are things that we really focus in on, which is removing barriers to trans thriving. And so what that means with removing barriers to trans thriving is putting no barriers, very similar to the Sacramento LGBT Center. You come as you are. If you have a need, a healthcare access need, mental health counseling, wanting access to speak to a counselor, low or no cost. If you need to come in and you have questions about hormone treatment, low barrier, come on in, we'll answer your questions. If you are a Spanish speaker, we have our community support services team where everyone is bilingual Spanish and English in our community support services team. So we will assist and walk the path with you. I think one of the big things at the GHC is this idea of accompaniment. So what does it mean to walk alongside our kin as we are healing, growing, and trying to receive health care, trying to pursue wellness? And so part of the services that are provided, I think the general ethos or ways of being at the GHC is care, wellness, and also joy. So it's that piece around what does it mean to be in community and chop it up and have some conversation, connect with each other, being able to have that deep sense of belonging that can also be a part of being in chosen family and community. And I think any of those spaces and places where that's demonstrated, you will feel the heartbeat of the community. And that's one of the things I think at the GHC that's really important is there is a heartbeat in our community. That's why we're like, come in, you are invited. This is a space of very intentional safety and very intentional, it's care for all of our kin who come through. And that's the other thing too. So we center trans, non-binary, gender expansive communities, queer folks, same gender loving folks, indigenous folks, people of color, but anybody can come in. This is the thing. There's no barriers to care in that way. Our doors really are truly open. And I think that's a piece that is also important to really reinforce. And I know it's the same ethic at the Sacramento LGBT Center. If somebody needs care, you're going to get it. Because I'm also a psychologist. So it's, as a healthcare provider, that's what you do. I know, I laugh at it, but that's what you do. It's a baseline ethic of care that I think what we want to do, even within our community here in Sacramento as a sanctuary city too, is to provide that. And then doing what we can to keep each other safe.
By the way, there's Q&A if anybody is interested in asking some questions. We're open for that. Besides that, so both organizations work together. How do you support each other, organizations?
Well, for one, I think there's always a lot of bridge building. Somebody had spoken to it like earlier. I think that like with us being like nonprofit organizations, we don't have like all of the resources like available, but we do have people who care about other people that work there. And so instead of us just saying to somebody, oh, sorry, we don't have that here, tough luck, we build partnerships with other organizations that we've personally vetted, places that we've gone before, with people that we know where we know that we can actually send you there to be able to go and get like those resources. And so in order for us to be able to provide like full, well-rounded care to anybody who's coming to our doors, we have to be able to lean like on each other. We have to be able to lean on each other as like organizations, but we also have to learn to be able to lean on each other just as members of like our own community. So whether you're a part of like a community or not, but still being there so that somebody can lean on you for like support is really what's gonna like help us like in the long run. And so I would say I know we always have like Gender Health Center, like they're at our Marsha P. Johnson Center South location. They have like their van that they park there, and they have like harm reduction items. They have like Narcan, they have fentanyl testing strips, and we actually have an event like in collaboration that's going to be happening like at the end of the month. And it's going to be open to communities, so anybody can come, and it's free. Like we're going to have food. We're going to offer free rapid HIV testing. So people can come in, they can like become like aware of like their status. They can meet with me, or they can meet with another one of like our community members that can provide like sexual health education. They can provide like that linkage to care, like if they need it, whether it's like to mental health care, if it's treatment for STIs, if somebody's diagnosed like with HIV, like we're still going to be there like with them. We're not just going to tell them, oh, you just tested positive for HIV, good luck. Like we're gonna make sure that we can handle all of those hard steps in between, because the social structures, these institutional structures like we've talked about, are just very difficult to navigate. They're difficult to navigate, especially if you may only speak like one language. And so by us having staff or people in the community that can really do a lot of like that hard work like for you, like we're able to like help build up our community members just so that they can get at that baseline, so that they can thrive, so that we can start to think and imagine a world of what it looks like when people do have access like to health services and to community.
Yes, and I love that too, Erin, because I think it doesn't have to be just one place to be able to go. So, you come to the Gender Health Center, you can also go to the LGBT Center. You can also catch up with Weave. Like there's La Familia Counseling Center. Like there's a lot of networked healthcare community grassroots organizations in Sacramento that we're in each other's spheres. And so I think it would be a shame too if somebody was just like, oh, we just go to one place. It's like, no, actually, there's several different places that you can go to be able to receive care here in Sacramento. And we'll help you with, see that map. Our community support services team will get your referrals in the appropriate place. So like Erin, like you're talking about with, if we don't have it, we know who does. And then it's kind of what we like to call a warm handoff to then be able to connect to the other organization. So then that's also a function of community care, a demonstration of community care. And there's no kind of like one entity or one organization that could do it all. I mean, that would just be a bit a lot.
No, it definitely would. Like I think collaboration is like always like the biggest thing of like nonprofits. And so us being able to build like these partnerships like with one another, just making sure that, again, we can make everything like so much simpler for everyone. It's like we often share a lot of like the same clients anyways, and it's not bad if somebody's gonna go to you like for one resource and then, oh, like they're gonna come over here and get like the same thing. We're like, no, please take it. Like whatever you're actually gonna need to be able to like help build you up, like you're not taking advantage of anything. Again, like we're nonprofits, like we're not in competition like with one another. Like all organizations that serve people, that value community and actually have that as like a core value, part of like the integrity of their mission, should be working together. There shouldn't be a competition of, oh, like who are like we serving? Like, no, we should be able to share that like with everyone for sure.
Absolutely, and I think that's the way to build solidarity, You need that solidarity to be able to address all of the sometimes complicated needs that arise in community. And without that, I mean, we really are, I know this is a saying that most people are familiar with, we're stronger together, because it's true. And that's what I appreciate about collaboration, those connections, and also the creativity that exists, I think, in our different agencies and organizations, because we have brilliance in these spaces. I think that's another piece too. So
No, I think that's definitely like a big piece too. I always say like whenever you're limited on resources, you have to be creative like with what you got. So if you only have like a couple of bucks, but you have like something that you might be able to put together like in the fridge, like it takes creativity to get there. And it's not like we have like all like this funding to just answer everybody's problems. So we do have to get like really creative with how we're going to coordinate somebody's care, like how we're gonna support them like holistically, because that's still gonna be like our mission, like at the end of all of it.
So state-wise, do you just operate in Sacramento, or do you have a statewide connection with other organizations? As you're familiar, U.S. is the leader in the world, and California is the leader in the U.S. And Sacramento is the capital, so it's a way to put in your importance in the state and in the world, your influence. So how do you come about dealing with other organizations within the state of California?
Like within California?
Oh, of course, it could be nationwide, but we're in California. So just if you have any other contacts or organizations that are allies with you in California, which is just based in Sacramento.
I can speak to that at the GHC. One of the benefits of a funding opportunity that we had was the development of our community-based our community-defined evidence-based practices. And within our development of our community-defined evidence-based practices, we connected in with other they're called the LGBT hubs throughout California. And this is through a state grant that we received. And so part of working in the LGBT hub is we meet monthly with folks in the Central Valley, folks in the Bay Area, folks up north just a little bit too, with several organizations, organization in Napa. And so there's a process of sharing of resource that happens in terms of ideas, in terms of our approaches in doing the work, taking into consideration what some of the differences are across California. So rural populations, some of the needs are different than here in Sacramento, suburban, more of an urban place, but being able to provide support in that way. We are connecting, and it's called LGBT Connects. They're based out of Napa. We're having conversations about building programs to connect some of our youth that are a bit more rural out in Sonoma County with some of the folks out here in Sacramento. So it's building that bridge, and also building, one of the things that has been named in rural communities is not enough connection with other queer and trans people. And so if there's opportunities that we can do to build and bridge, then absolutely. And trying to get some of those things in place. I think also there's similarities around some of the challenges with erasure or with fear that some of our community, a lot of our community members are also experiencing right now, and wanting to be able to go to vetted sources to be able to receive care and support. And so I think I've learned too, and as an executive director, having conversations with other leaders throughout the state in that way too, of what are these a variety of approaches that we can take to be able to wrap our arms around our community in so many different kinds of ways. I think another benefit with telehealth and virtual counseling, for example, is also, we see folks throughout California in our counseling services because of virtual counseling. So we've also gotten an idea of what is going more often too, what's going on in some of the rural areas, the ways in which to provide support, how do we show up together as organizations. And I appreciate, it's like, we're an LGBTQ hub. So we all have very similar missions, which is really freedom and liberation, I'll be honest, and access to care. And this can never be done. It can never be done in isolation. It could never be done in isolation. I think that's one of the opportunities that we have of connecting, and being really open with collaboration. So I think that's just one example of like how this can work. Conversation, strategizing together, also receiving support, because the work is difficult, especially as a nonprofit organization. The work is very difficult. The funding sources can be tenuous. We're always trying to be as creative and open and inviting of different ways to support the work. And so hearing from other people about their approaches also really helps, because we're all trying to do the same thing. So.
Just let me share with you that in IME in Mexico, we have this month all of our consulate centers around the world provide us with activities that they do around the world on behalf of the LGBTQ community. And so we have reports all over the world of the activities that are being going on in support of the community. And so that's just on our part. Just supporting the community around the world. So we do have these reports all over the world, but they do around the world. So that's a way that Mexico is supporting the LGBTQ plus community, of course, Mexican community, but of course with everybody included. So it's just what the consulates and embassies do around the world. So we do have our share of support around the world. So just for you guys to know that we are also doing our little share around the world. Is there any Q&A in the audience that would like to participate? Go ahead.
I want to make a question, I guess, a comment on the. Recently, there's been a lot of cuts happening, national level, especially the crisis line that benefits a lot of the LGBTQ plus community. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of mental health, identity, to have a balanced mental health, and what are you guys doing to mitigate all these areas that are being impacted?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. The intersections between social oppression and mental health, and being able for folks to be able to know it's where to go when in a crisis, where to go to receive, more immediate care and support. Because what we also know, like on the mental health side, is the faster that you can attend to people's concerns, often will the progression, you're trying to bring down the crisis before things become also too bad, right? And so people being able to have fast access to care. I think for the Gender Health Center, a lot of the time we're continuing to just do the work. So it's more of, we need people to know what we're doing and what's available in terms of support. So for example, we offer drop-in counseling for folks to come in if there is maybe a more emergent concern that people are having, they can talk to a counselor. There's also other more twice, 3 times a month events for people to have a touch point with community. And having a touch point with community is important because this is developing connection, ending social isolation, being able to have conversations about what's going on in your lived experience, whether that's at home, whether that's at school, whether that's at the workplace. But there are spaces and places available to be able to talk and process. I think another piece around holistic wellness is, it's around movement, being outside, connecting with the body if people have access to that. So I know LGBT Center, y'all do yoga, we're doing some yoga too. It's like there's opportunities. I think it's raising up who is doing what, because there's a lot of people, we've always been doing this. And so you're like, oh, cuts with 988, like cuts with this, cuts with that. But it's also raising up what we have always done and what will continue to be available for people as well. Because I think that piece is, there's an element of hope that can be present there. And there's an element also, I know where to go. So I think for allies, accomplices, people who are really trying to help to support community, you got to know the resources in the community to be able to share with folks. Because there can be sometimes this perception of lack that actually is not, in my experience, especially like with the Gender Health Center, is not lack, actually. We got a lot, and there's a lot available for people to partake in. It's just knowing that it's here. And then taking that step. That's how strong Sacramento is. I think there's a lot of places. I'm like, I keep learning about other places and spaces, and I'm like, why didn't I know about that? We keep hearing about all these cuts and stuff, but what about what is working within our community? You know, what about all of the beauty that is also surrounding us around connection? You know, like, let's be real, like there's something very powerful going on in our communities that doesn't get the air. And that's by design. So that's why we're having this conversation too. And how that feeds into mental health is, I'm alone. No one has experienced this. I don't have support. And we're like, no, we're here specifically for you. There's an emphasis on inviting in our trans, queer, gender diverse, just spicy people that are coming in to do the thing. That's what we're here for. So I think, so I kind of flipped the question a little bit too, because I think that part is also helpful, is it's whenever someone's saying we're taking something away, but it's like, well, what also is here and what needs to be elevated and lifted up about what is here?
Yeah, I think your reframe is important because there is a lot of resources that we do have that a lot of people just don't know about. Like we have licensed mental health clinicians like available like at our Midtown like location. Like they can meet like virtually. And again, these services are free. Like people don't have to pay for it. Like they don't have to show like any ID. And if it's not that, then we still have like a referral network of like different places that we can send people. Just to share a tidbit of like, again, like I'm working in like HIV prevention. And I think there was like a conference that like I had gone to and they mentioned how just having access to housing is HIV prevention, like having like access to community and like your friends and other supportive services, like that's all gonna aid like in somebody's HIV prevention. And so to that, we do have housing as well. Like we have 2 housing shelters. We have a short-term emergency placement program. I'm sorry. And then we also have a transitional age like living program as well. And so we have this like for LGBT youth because a lot of LGBT youth, like they are like disproportionately impacted by like homelessness, often just being kicked out like with their family, not really having like that chosen family. And again, it's like, if I have housing, like I think my mental health can definitely be like a lot better. If I can get that HIV or that chlamydia or gonorrhea test, like that's something that might be like a lot better if I have access to an affirming like mental health like provider, like it is good. So I think another big piece of it as well is just that the headlines alone can be like really scary. And so we do have like an entire advocacy and training team who are very intentional about like wanting to demystify like a lot of like the messages that are out there, because a lot of that comes out there to put people like into a panic, to like not reach out, to be like scared. Of course, it's going to continue to exacerbate like whatever I don't know, feelings that they have about like their own like survival and their ability to be better. And so like with our advocacy and training team, like they do a lot of work at the city hall. Like they do it in like those areas that are not so supportive of like trans people, and they provide like a lot of like that education. So they're always like available for people to reach out, like, yes, like this headline may say this, but in actuality, like nothing's like actually passed there. And so I think that can also just like provide like it can help improve somebody's well-being, like in their mood. I feel like I use it like myself. I feel like we're kind of lucky to be like around like other queer people, just like a staff, because that like definitely helps. And so I would say all those things help. And we just had Pride too. We just had like Sacramento Pride, and with Sac Pride like just happening, like actually offering like a space like with other people can come together and like they can actually relish in the joy. Like we spend so much time like during Pride Month talking about like everything terrible that we've been through and experienced, but sometimes like once we're able to just get together, look with your friends and like go to Pride, it could just help reframe things and then put you like in a better mindset. And then it also reinvigorates you to continue fighting like the good fight. Like we realize like what we're doing, it's not just fight. We have a little party in between too. So yeah.
So I mentioned, it was in Spanish, you probably didn't understand that, but I mentioned that we also in Mexico with the Instituto IME, that we also have allies, University of Mexico, UNAM, University National of Mexico, and Iberoamericana, two universities very well known in Mexico. We have them as allies for this mental health issue, and so we are also aware of the situation that we're expanding the service to the consulates and the embassies with the help of these universities in Mexico. So it's also something that we're doing right now in Mexico with the LGBTQ plus community. Just want to mention that. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Gonzalo. I'm with ABC10, and you were speaking about all of the good things that are happening here, all the things that we need to know about that are happening in the community. It's a twofold question. One, what are the issues here in the area that are impacting the LGBT community the most? Could you speak to some of those issues? And then two, what are those stories? What are those things that the community should know about, and how can we help tell those stories?
I'm going to bypass question one into question two, and maybe you can delve into the first question.
Sure.
How to tell the stories. I think you have to be like in community with us to be able to tell the story in a way that is actually in our voices. I think sometimes there is not enough narrative storytelling that is led by queer and trans people that is actually in our voice and experience. It gets turned into visions or ideas about who we are that is not accurate. So I think, but how to do that, you have to actually be in community. And meaning you have to show up at the events, you have to talk to people, you have to develop relationship and connection, because a soundbite doesn't get at a depthful understanding of people's lived experience, nor does it get at the history and nuance of the development of community strength and resilience. So it requires presence, I would say. And presence, it's easy. Because all I gotta do is be around our staff. All I gotta do is be in the, come to the event. And it's easy because like, oh, why does it feel so good in here? I'll be honest, like people have said that. Why does it feel so good in here? Like you have good energy in here. I'm like, well, we've cultivated that because we're building intentional, loving community. And you're there, you see it, you experience it. You can't help but it's infectious. The first part, misinformation. I mean, that is a big piece of this. And narratives that are trying to turn the mind a certain way that also are not, there's a toxicity to it, I would say, that's real. And it's an onslaught. So we are experiencing like an onslaught in the news of this, this thing, the Supreme Court decision. There's a lot of different things going on that people are also reacting to, for sure. And I think, here in California too, really understanding your rights. Some of the work we do at the General Health Center too is we have a partnership with Legal Services in Northern California, and I think y'all do too. And so we work with attorneys, legal staff, who can also give us more information about what does this actually mean legally, and providing that support for community members as well. So there's clarity. People know their rights. And we, as an organization, too, are more familiar with that. So it's then reinforcing what we know to be true within our rights.
So the first part of your question was like, what is like one of the biggest challenges like facing our community? And what was the second part of your question?
Yeah, just what are the issues and challenges facing the LGBT community in our area?
Yeah, I guess probably just like to what you said, like again, it's probably just like the lack of knowledge of like different resources. Probably it may be a little bit more like difficult for people to just get involved like with the community like as well here. I think there's probably folks who just don't really know like their entry point, and often their entry point is like us. It's like going to like the LGBT center, it's going like to the gender health center. And just because it does say Sacramento LGBT Community Center and it has like the rainbow, I think sometimes like if there's people who may be a part of the community and they just don't know it yet, they may be like a little dissuaded to like enter our doors like because of that. But we have like other locations that like that people are able to come to. And so I think the thing that we always end up saying is stigma. Like stigma is always like the biggest thing that's like preventing people from getting access to healthcare because they don't want to be judged like by the provider, like they don't want to be judged like by like what type of sex like they're having, or they don't want to be judged by like their gender identity. And so I would say that's the thing that always like comes up, because I feel like it's unfortunate to say, but I feel like in the US, like where it's kind of inherently transphobic, like we're like, even like as like a trans person, like I didn't just wake up like this. Like I had to like undo like a lot of it. Like there's like a lot of unmeshing that I have to do. And I think that's probably like the hardest part, is like for people who aren't LGBT or trans, like realizing like, you know what, maybe there's certain things or thought processes that I kind of should divorce like for myself. Like, is this genuinely how I think about people? Or is this like what society has like whispered into my ear about what trans people like look like or show up as? Like there's so many different facets to us, like there's so many different ways that like we show up. And so I would say that's always the hardest thing, because there's like a large historical context there, just in terms of, again, like when we're like young as like trans people, like we believed it too. I believe it. Like I probably said the wrong things like a ton of times. And I think for people who are too scared to like offend us or something, like they're like, oh shit. they're like, I'm too like they're too afraid to just like engage like in general. Like they're like, you know what, I don't want to offend, so I'm just not gonna say anything at all. But by doing that, like you're not getting closer to people, you're not like really humanizing them like in their experience and like who they are as like the person just in front of you. And so I think people just have to get comfortable with like making mistakes or being corrected or like being wrong, or be like, you know what, this is fine. Because if you have the intention of just getting to know your fellow Sacramentan LGBT community members, it's like all that matters. And so you can come talk to us. Like you can mess up with me. Like you can make all like those mistakes like with me now, just so that you can feel confident like going to the next queer person and hopefully treating them like with sweetness and kindness.
I'm running out of time, so I'd like to thank Aaron and Malachi for all you've provided us with information this morning. And so I'm gonna have to close this panel, and just thank you guys for sharing what you did. And so thank you guys for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Gobierno de México. Segundo piso de la Cuarta Transformación.